The auction hall was nearly empty. That alone should have warned me. In my experience, if something in the galaxy was cheap enough to auction off in a forgotten orbital station, there was always a reason. Usually a deadly one. Still, I'd come this far. The station, Helios Outpost 7, floated in the dead zone between three star systems nobody wanted. Rusted metal corridors, flickering lights, recycled air that tasted like burnt plastic. The kind of place where smugglers hid and governments pretended not to notice. The auction room looked exactly how you'd expect, half the lights out, dusty seats, and a bored drone hovering above a cracked stage. I was the only human there. The rest of the audience consisted of maybe 6 alien traders. A tall insectoid with silver chitin clicked its mandibles impatiently. A thick-bodied reptilian merchant flicked his tongue while scrolling through his datapad. 2 others whispered in low, suspicious tones. The floating auction drone buzzed. "Next item," it announced in a flat mechanical voice. "Recovered vessel. Origin unknown. Recovered from debris field Gamma 9. A hologram flickered on. The ship appeared in the air. Ugly was the kindest word for it. The hull was blackened and scarred like it had crawled out of a war zone and barely survived. One of the engines was clearly dead. Several weapon ports were sealed shut with emergency plating. Someone in the audience laughed. The insectoid trader spoke in a clicking accent. "Human junk," another alien muttered. "Probably cursed." The drone continued. "Historical registry erased. Ship classification unverified. Technology level inconsistent." That caught my attention. "Inconsistent?" I muttered. The hologram zoomed in on the hull. Sections of armor looked primitive. Other parts looked impossibly advanced. Like someone had bolted 3 different centuries of technology together. The drone spoke again. "Opening bid 5,000 credits." Silence. The reptilian merchant shook his head. "Salvage value too low." The insectoid leaned back. "Engines obsolete. Hull compromised. No interest." The drone paused awkwardly. "Revised starting bid 4,000 credits." Still silence. I leaned back in my chair and took a sip of the worst coffee ever brewed in human history. Truth be told, I wasn't looking for treasure. I was looking for a project. Something to fix. Something to fly. Something that didn't remind me of the war. The Vor Empire had burned 3 frontier colonies last year. I'd lost friends in those fires. And lately the galaxy felt like it was slowly sliding toward another large-scale conflict. So yeah, maybe buying a broken ship in a dead station was my version of therapy. I raised my hand. "I'll give you 2,000. Every alien in the room turned to stare at me. The insectoid's mandibles clicked. "Human, that wreck will kill you." I shrugged. "Then it'll be the cheapest funeral I've ever had." The drone hesitated for a moment, as if confused by the concept of a human making a bad financial decision. "Bid accepted," it finally said. 2,000 credits. No one countered. The gavel slammed down. "Sold." Just like that, the ship was mine. I stood up and stretched. "Well," I muttered. "Let's see what kind of mistake I just bought." The hangar bay was colder than space itself. My newly purchased disaster sat in the middle of the docking platform like a wounded animal. Up close it looked even worse. Burned scars across the hull. Welded plates covering holes. Entire sections that clearly didn't belong to the original design. But beneath the damage, something felt wrong. Too heavy. Too solid. Like the ship was pretending to be weaker than it actually was. A station mechanic named Crawl crawled out from under the landing strut. He was a reptilian with 6 arms and the personality of a paranoid accountant. "Human," he hissed. "This vessel is extremely unsafe. You say that about every ship. Not like this." He tapped the hull with a metal wrench. Clang. The sound was deep. Dense. Crawl froze. "Strange." "What?" "This Allah. I have never seen anything like it." I crossed my arms. That bad? No, that good. He ran a scanner along the hull. The device beeped. Then beeped faster. Then started screaming like it had just seen a ghost. Crawl's eyes widened. This is impossible. What is? This metal composition should not exist. I frowned. What do you mean? It is stronger than military dreadnought armor. I stared at the wreck. You're telling me this junk pile is made of top-tier warship material? Crawl slowly nodded. Yes. That was when the ship woke up. A deep vibration rolled through the hull. Lights flickered on across the surface. Power surged through the docking clamps. Crawl screamed and jumped backward. I did nothing! A calm mechanical voice echoed from inside the ship. Cold. Ancient. Artificial. Genetic scan initiated. A beam of blue light swept across the hangar. It scanned Crawl. Non-human lifeform detected. Then it scanned me. The light paused. The ship went completely silent. For 3 long seconds nothing happened. Then the voice spoke again. Different this time. Almost respectful. Genetic signature confirmed. I blinked. Confirmed for what? The answer hit like a thunderbolt. Welcome back, Commander. Crawl's jaw dropped. My what? The ship's engines hummed softly. Systems began powering on one by one. Weapons ports unlocked with heavy metallic clicks. The station lights dimmed as the ship pulled power directly from the grid. Crawl whispered in horror. Human, what did you buy? A massive hologram appeared above the vessel. The damaged hull rotated slowly in the air. Then the projection shifted. Panels peeled away digitally, revealing the original design underneath. My stomach dropped. The ugly wreck was just camouflage. Underneath it was a monster. A colossal warship. Rows of heavy cannons lined the sides. Missile silos big enough to swallow freighters. Armor plating thicker than most buildings. This wasn't a cruiser. It was a mobile apocalypse. Crawl fainted. The AI continued speaking. Strategic war platform activated. I rubbed my face. Okay, calm down. The hologram shifted again. A star map appeared. Half the galaxy lit up in red. Hundreds of enemy markers. The AI's voice became colder. Primary hostile faction identified. One name appeared in enormous red letters. VOR Empire. My blood ran cold. The VOR. The Empire responsible for half the atrocities in the frontier. The same bastards who burned human colonies for sport. The AI continued. Mission status, incomplete. I slowly looked up at the enormous ship. Don't tell me. The AI finished the sentence. Last command received before system shutdown. The lights dimmed. Weapons systems began humming deeper within the hull. The AI spoke with terrifying calm. Eradicate the VOR Empire. Silence filled the hangar. I stared at the ship. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was insane. Let me get this straight, I said slowly. I bought a forgotten warship designed to wipe out a galactic empire. The AI responded instantly. Correct, Commander. Crawl woke up just in time to hear that. He screamed again. And deep inside the ship, something enormous started powering up. The quiet auction on a forgotten station had just reignited a war. And somehow, I was the idiot holding the trigger. The warship's memory. Crawl didn't stop screaming for a full 30 seconds. 6 arms flailing, tail slamming against the hangar floor, eyes wide like he just discovered gravity was optional. Turn it OFF! He shrieked. Turn it off before the station's security sees. Relax, I said, rubbing my temples. Behind me, the ship hummed like a predator waking from a 1,000-year nap. Lights rippled across the hull in slow waves. The hangar floor vibrated under the weight of systems coming online. Crawl pointed at the ship with trembling claws. That thing just called you Commander. Yeah, I said. And it said destroy an empire. Also yeah. That is extremely illegal. I stared at the massive vessel. Technically, I said, I think it was illegal before I bought it. The ship's voice returned calm and deep. Commander. Yeah? Docking bay structural integrity is insufficient for full power initialization. I glanced around the old hangar. Cracked walls. Flickering lights. 40-year-old docking clamps. Fair, I muttered. Recommendation, immediate launch. Krall grabbed my jacket. No launch! No launch! This station cannot survive whatever that thing is. A loud metallic clunk echoed from the hull. Several armored plates slid open. Krall slowly turned. Human! Inside the opening ports sat rows of enormous missile tubes. He fainted again. 10 minutes later I was sitting in the pilot's chair. The cockpit looked nothing like the outside of the ship. It wasn't rusty or broken. It was pristine. Dark metal walls curved around a command throne that looked more like it belonged in a war museum than a cockpit. Holographic panels floated in the air like ghostly instruments waiting for a conductor. The moment I sat down, the chair adjusted automatically. The AI spoke. Command interface synchronizing. A small needle popped out of the armrest. I stared at it. Yeah, no. Neural link required for full system access. Absolutely not. The needle waited patiently. I sighed. Fine. It stabbed my arm. The world exploded. Suddenly I wasn't just seeing the cockpit. I was seeing the ship. Every corridor. Every reactor chamber. Every weapon system. It was like my brain had been plugged directly into a metal monster the size of a city. Whoa! I breathed. The AI continued. Welcome to Strategic War Platform Nightfall. Data flooded my mind. Weapons inventory. Power reserves. Shield strength. My jaw slowly dropped. Sweet mother of gravity. Krall stumbled into the cockpit, still pale. Human, we must abandon this ship immediately. I rotated the chair toward him. Too late. Outside the viewport, the docking clamps released with a loud metallic snap. The ship rose smoothly from the platform. No engine roar. No shaking. Just raw power. We slid out of the hangar like a shark leaving shallow water. The moment we cleared the station perimeter, the engines ignited. Stars stretched into blue lines. We jumped into hyperspace. Krall collapsed into a seat. You stole a warship. I bought it, I corrected. For 2,000 credits. Best deal I've ever made. 3,000 light-years away. Inside the throne chamber of the Vor Empire. An alarm began screaming. The Vor Emperor looked up from his war table. He was massive, armored in natural bone plates, eyes glowing red beneath a crown of black metal. What disturbance interrupts my counsel? A trembling officer bowed low. My Emperor, a signal has appeared. What signal? The officer activated a hologram. A single identifier flashed across the room. The Emperor froze. Every general in the chamber went silent. The words were ancient. Feared. Thought destroyed centuries ago. Human war platform, Nightfall. The Emperor's claws dug into the throne. That ship was annihilated. No, my Emperor. The signal pulsed again. Reactivated. The Emperor's voice dropped to a whisper. Impossible. One of the older generals stepped forward. My Emperor, if the legends are true. The hologram expanded. A historical archive appeared. Images of a colossal black warship tearing through Vor fleets. Entire armadas burning. Planetary defenses collapsing. One line appeared beneath the footage. One ship. 12 fleets destroyed. The Emperor roared. Find it! Yes, my Emperor. Before the humans remember what they built. Back aboard the Nightfall. I was still scrolling through weapons systems. There were a lot. Okay, I muttered. Okay, that's illegal. Scroll. Definitely illegal. Scroll. Oh wow, that one's a war crime. Krall stared at the holograms in horror. This ship is banned by 17 galactic treaties. Good thing I never signed them. The AI interrupted. Warning. Yeah? Incoming vessels. 3 red dots appeared on the radar. Small. Fast. Crawl leaned closer. Station patrol. 3 alien cruisers dropped out of warp ahead of us. A voice crackled through the comm channel. Unidentified vessel, power down immediately. Crawl grabbed my shoulder. Do what they say! I studied the enemy ships. Light patrol cruisers. Armed, but barely. The AI spoke quietly in my mind. Commander. Yes? They are locking weapons. The cruisers opened fire. Plasma bolts streaked across space. They slammed into our shields. The impact didn't even make the ship tremble. Crawl whispered. Oh. I leaned back in the command chair. Well, I said calmly. They shot first. The AI responded. Weapon systems ready. I scrolled through the list. There were dozens of options. But one looked appropriate. Let's start small. Define small. I selected a weapon labeled Tactical Rail Cannon. Fire 1 shot. The Nightfall responded instantly. Deep inside the hull, magnetic accelerators spun up with a thunderous hum. A single tungsten rod launched from the ship. No explosion. No dramatic beam. Just raw velocity. The rod punched through the first cruiser. Through the second. Through the third. All 3 ships drifted apart in silence. Completely gutted. Crawl stared at the screen. That was 1 shot. Yep. The AI spoke again. Additional contacts detected. More red dots appeared. Dozens this time. Warships. Crawl slowly turned toward me. Human, they found us. I smiled. For the first time in a long time. Good. I leaned forward in the command chair. Let's see what this monster can really do. Deep within the Nightfall, thousands of weapons began powering up. And somewhere far away, the Vor Empire finally realized something terrifying. The old human warship wasn't lost. It had just been waiting for a new commander. The Empire learns fear. The first Vor fleet arrived like a storm. 30 warships dropped out of hyperspace around us, forming a tightening circle of steel and plasma cannons. Their hulls were long and brutal, built like blades designed to cut civilizations in half. Crawl stared at the tactical display. His scales turned pale. That is a full assault formation. I leaned back in the command chair. Only 30? Only? The comm channel crackled to life. A deep alien voice filled the bridge. Unknown vessel. This system now belongs to the Vor Empire. A massive Vor battleship moved to the front of the formation. Its hull was covered in glowing weapon ports. The captain continued. You will power down and surrender your vessel for Imperial inspection. Crawl whispered. Please do it. I glanced at him. You know they'd kill us anyway, right? Yes, he said miserably. But maybe later. The AI spoke quietly in my mind. Commander. Enemy fleet locking targeting solutions. The Vor captain laughed through the calm. You hesitate, human? My eyebrows went up. You know I'm human? Of course. The alien's voice grew colder. The Vor Empire remembers the human wars. Behind him I could see the bridge of his ship, rows of armored officers watching us like predators. The captain leaned forward. Your species once built terrible weapons. He gestured toward our ship. But you are alone now. Crawl whispered. We are going to die. I tapped the armrest of the command chair. Well, I said calmly. Technically I just bought this thing yesterday. The Vor captain frowned. What? The AI interrupted. Enemy weapons charging. I sighed. Guess negotiations are over. The captain sneered. Human arrogance. Then he gave the order. Destroy them. 30 ships opened fire. The stars vanished behind a storm of plasma and antimatter torpedoes. Crawl screamed. The explosion slammed into our shields. The cockpit lights flickered for a moment. Then everything stabilized. The AI reported calmly. Shields at 97%. Crawl blinked. That's it. I cracked my knuckles. All right. I opened the weapons interface again. The list scrolled down for several seconds. Commander, the AI asked, which weapon system would you like to deploy? I whistled. You guys really planned for everything, didn't you? Outside, the Vor fleet began another firing sequence. Hundreds of weapons locked onto us. The captain's voice returned. Strange. Your shields endure. I selected a new weapon. Let's try this one. Crawl leaned closer to the display. His eyes widened. Human, that weapon is labeled. Yep. Planetary siege array. Maybe not the whole thing, I said. Just one turret. The AI acknowledged. Firing solution acquired. Far below the hull, enormous armor plates slid open. A cannon the size of a city block emerged from the ship. The Vor fleet noticed. Their captain frowned. What weapon is that? I smiled. You're about to find out. Fire. A beam of pure white energy erupted from the nightfall. It wasn't a laser. It was more like a slice of the sun itself. The beam carved straight through the nearest Vor destroyer. Then the cruiser behind it. Then the frigate behind that. 3 ships evaporated instantly. The rest of the beam continued into empty space for another 1,000 kilometers before fading. The Vor fleet froze. Crawl whispered. Oh. The enemy captain's eyes widened. That weapon should not exist. I tilted my head. Your fleet's looking a little uneven now. Several Vor ships tried to reposition. The AI spoke. Commander. Multiple targets within strike range. I grinned. Let's multitask. Missile bays opened across the Nightfall's hull. Hundreds of warheads launched into space. Each one adjusted course like a hunting animal. The Vor fleet erupted into chaos. Interceptors! Their captain shouted. Shoot them down! Too late. The missiles reached their targets. Space filled with fire. 10 Vor ships vanished in a chain of explosions. The remaining fleet scattered. Crawl slowly sank into his chair. You destroyed half their fleet. Correction, the AI said calmly. 47%. The Vor captain's voice came back on the comm channel. But now he sounded afraid. Human vessel, identify yourself. I leaned forward. You first. Silence. Then the captain answered. Commander Vrax of the Imperial Vanguard. Nice to meet you, Vrax. I glanced at the tactical display. His flagship was the largest vessel remaining. Your turn, he said. What is this ship? The AI answered for me. Strategic War Platform Nightfall. The Vor bridge exploded into shouting. I could hear officers yelling in panic. Impossible! The human doom ship! IT was destroyed! Vrax whispered something in his own language. Probably a prayer. Then he shouted a new order. All ships concentrate fire! The remaining Vor warships unleashed everything they had. The Nightfall shook slightly as dozens of weapons slammed into the shields. Shields at 92%, the AI reported. Crawl stared at the number. This ship is unfair. Human engineering, I said. Mostly fueled by spite. Vrax returned to the comm. Human, listen carefully. I raised an eyebrow. Okay. You may destroy this fleet. Working on it. But the Vor Empire controls thousands of systems. His voice hardened. You cannot fight us all. I thought about that. Then I looked around the bridge of the largest warship ever built by humanity. Funny thing about humans, I said. We're stubborn. I selected another weapon. This one had a name that made me smile. Fleet Breaker. Crawl saw the selection and nearly fainted again. Human, that sounds accurate? The AI confirmed the firing sequence. Deep within the Nightfall, titanic engines roared to life. Energy surged into a massive forward cannon. The remaining Vor ships tried to retreat. Too slow. The cannon fired. A shockwave ripped across space like a cosmic hammer. Every Vor ship caught in its path crumpled like paper. Hull armor twisted. Engines shattered. Weapons ripped free. When the light faded, only one ship remained. Vrax's flagship. Drifting. Broken. I opened the comm channel. Well, I said. Looks like you're the last one. The Vor captain stared at the ruins of his fleet. 30 ships. Gone in minutes. His voice was barely a whisper. What are you? I leaned back in the chair. Just a guy who bought a cheap ship at an auction. The Nightfall's weapons locked onto his vessel. Krall leaned toward me nervously. Human, what now? I looked at the lone enemy battleship. Then at the star map showing the massive Vor Empire beyond. I smiled slowly. No, I said. We send a message. And somewhere deep inside the Nightfall, an ancient system began unlocking. One the Vor Empire had feared for centuries. Humanity remembers. The last Vor ship trembled in orbit, barely holding together. Its hull was scorched, weapons fried, shields completely gone. I leaned back in the command chair, letting the AI do the subtle adjustments. Nightfall hummed beneath me, alive, aware, almost happy. Krall sat slumped in his chair, staring at the tactical display. You just annihilated a fleet. 30 ships gone. With one ship. I swirled the coffee I'd brought along, still lukewarm, and smiled. 2,000 credits, Krall. Cheapest war I've ever bought. The AI spoke softly, a metallic purr in my mind. Commander. The Aura communication attempt detected. I activated the comm channel. The enemy captain, Vrax, appeared on the viewport. His armor was scorched, his mandibles trembling. You, human! He hissed. What are you? I shrugged casually. You could say I'm the guy who bought humanity's worst-kept secret. Vrax's eyes widened in understanding. Then hatred. Then fear. You have awakened a weapon of legend. I smiled. Not just a weapon. The galaxy seems to have forgotten humans. But we remember. The Vor fleet's remaining systems tried desperately to revive their engines, to fire their weapons. Nightfall barely flinched. I chose a single, slow-moving missile and sent it drifting toward their flagship. Not to destroy, but to make a statement. Stop running, I said. You've already lost. And this is only the beginning. The missile struck the hull with a gentle thump, just enough to crack an armor plate. Vrax's expression faltered. Do you understand? I continued. We built this. We hid it. And we've been waiting. Not just for vengeance, but to remind the galaxy that humans never forget, and we never surrender. Krall leaned toward me, whispering. Human, this is the start of a war. They'll send everything. I looked out at the stars, glowing blue in hyperspace. The Vor Empire was massive. Their fleets spanned systems, planets, suns. But I was smiling because they hadn't even guessed the truth yet. Let them come, I said. Because every fleet they send, they'll meet Nightfall. And every time, they'll remember what humans can do. Then, from deep within the Nightfall's core, a new signal pulsed. The ancient AI unlocked a sealed cryo chamber in the lower decks. A figure stirred. Humanoid, elegant, an alien, an envoy I didn't recognize. Her eyes opened, glowing faintly. Commander? She whispered. I was asleep, why am I awake? I glanced at Krall. She's Vor, he hissed. We should. No, I interrupted. She's curious. And curiosity is dangerous. The AI's voice resonated softly. Commander, she holds classified intelligence on the Vor Empire. She may assist. I turned to the newly awakened envoy. Welcome aboard. I'm your worst nightmare. Her eyes widened. Then, a small, wry smile appeared. Finally, someone remembers humans. I leaned back, letting the Nightfall drift among the stars. Every red dot on the star map, the Vor worlds, glowed like a target. The galaxy had underestimated humans once. They had assumed we were weak, disorganized, fragile. They were wrong. I whispered under my breath, more to myself than anyone else. We've only just begun. Krall groaned. Human, you are insane! I grinned, gripping the control chair. No, Krall, the universe is insane. We're just catching up. Above us, the stars stretched in hyperspace. The nightfall pulsed like a heartbeat. Every weapon was primed, every system awake. Humanity's legacy wasn't forgotten, it was hungry. And the Vor Empire would learn that the hard way. Because humans didn't just fight back. We came to win. We came to remind the galaxy that even a forgotten ship could carry the fury of an entire species. And that species was us. Humans. Unpredictable. Relentless. Terrifying. The auction hall had been empty. The ship was forgotten. The galaxy would regret both mistakes forever. Humanity never forgot. Humanity never surrendered. And some wars were meant to be remembered.